Ah, the site of my greatest failure. I endeavored to teach these fish to synchro summon, and they failed to produce even one monster. A suitable legacy for the synchro cracker. If only there were something else that the fish could do.
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. That's right. After years of teaching the fish to synchro summon, I've glimpsed the unknowable knowledge beneath the Marinus Trench and realized I've been a fool. I should never have been teaching them to synchro. I should be teaching these fish to exease.
Shark is no more.
So here's the list. Credit for this one is hard, thanks to my 5th round opponent at the Remote Duel YCS, Cogline3639, for their list and the inspiration to take this seriously, but I also stole some tech from a YouTuber called Joveguard, and of course, Robbie Cole. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is the pack opening website that everyone is using for their progression series, but you might have also missed it's got a deck builder, a card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. Give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. Now let's get Kragen. Number 4 Stealth Kragen is the second number 4 we've got. I think the first one was one of the gates. Anyway, this Jump-In Jellyfish is one of the hardest cards to wrap your head around that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has ever printed. Firstly, it turns every monster into a water one, which has niche applications against decks that care about attributes. Second, it allows you to, during the main phase, destroy a water monster your opponent controls. And third, when it's destroyed, it floats, get it, into as many Stealth Kragen spawns as it had Exease material attached to it. Then it attaches that material back to the spawns. The spawns can also destroy water monsters, and when destroyed, float back into the Kragen. If this loop doesn't seem particularly intuitive to you, that's fine. It isn't. So why do I care about a setup this labored and a boss monster this mediocre? Well, 2 reasons. 1, I think many people are discounting Kragen as a competent backup plan, or even plan A for the existing Shark deck, which can easily make 2 Toads and a UFD but is still languishing somewhere outside of Rogue playable. And second, my 5th round opponent at the YCS was playing this deck and was undefeated after 4 rounds. The deck has a lot of similarities to the classic Shark list in that you're mostly trying to play a rank 4 toolbox deck held together by the glue that is Utopic Future Dragon. Going first, however, this deck has a few different lines. Sure, it can do UFD Double Toad, but more realistically, it can make Kragen and some number of traps. Going second, it's got very early Zeus setups enabled by the all but unkillable Crooked Cook, and if everything goes south, you can just make the most annoying number in existence and pray your opponent isn't playing Underworld Goddess in their extra deck. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up is Nibiru. When you're playing a slow, methodical control deck like this with a low ceiling, you really want cards that end your opponent's turn, or at least go 2 for 1, and Nibiru fulfills that condition perfectly. After that is 3 copies of Buzzsaw Shark. This is probably the most important card in the deck. You can target a water monster you control, including itself, special summon from your deck in defense position, a fish with the same level as that monster, but a different name, and if you do, it can't activate its effects for the rest of the turn, and you are locked from the extra deck except for Exease monsters. Its targets are both Right-Hand Shark, a new release, which is absolutely phenomenal. If this card's in your graveyard and you control no monsters, you can special summon it back for free, but if it leaves the field, it's banished, and a monster that was summoned using only water monsters as material, including this card on the field, gains the effect that it can't be destroyed by battle, and Silent Angler. This card, if you control a water monster, can be specialed from the hand, but you can't special summon monsters from your hand for the rest of the turn. The latter, Silent Angler, has a lot of really interesting setups with cards like White Mirror. You can normal summon a Silent Angler, go into Almirage, activate White Mirror, bring back the Silent Angler, add a Silent Angler to hand, and then special the Silent Angler to make a 4. The former Right-Hand Shark has a lot of less interesting setups with this card, number 59, Crooked Cook. While you control no other cards on the field, this card is unaffected by other card's effects. If it's made with a Right-Hand Shark, it is also indestructible by battle. Many decks just straight up do not have an out to this. Now, that's not the majority of decks. A significant amount do have some way to get this card off the field or engineer a scenario in which you need to activate its effect, and then they can, of course, negate the effect, destroying the card. But those outs are few and far between, and it's a great way to stall until you find enough material to OTK your opponent. The benefit of playing this over something like the Exodia build is eventually you win. After Silent Angler, we've got Silent Sea Nettle, another new release. This one, unfortunately, is not a fish, which comes up quite frequently, but it is an aqua, which is relevant for Toad. If you control a water, you can special this from your hand, so you have to do it before Silent Angler, because otherwise you're locked. You can't special summon monsters except waters the turn you activate this effect, which turns off some lines with Almirage, and you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 3 water monsters in your graveyard to shuffle them into the deck. This is really important for recycling Kragen and Kragen spawns. After that is Bea Tuneful Princess. This card is $15 for some reason. It's a rare. This is going to crash any day now, but until then, enjoy shelling out $45 for a card that has been terrible every single time it's been legal. When it's normal or special summoned, you can banish it to get a level 4 or lower fish from your deck, and your target, of course, is Buzzsaw Shark. After that, we've got 1 copy of Instant Fusion, 1 copy of 1-for-1, Triple White Mirror, a fantastic new release, Triple Pot of Desires, 1 Ready Fusion, 1-1 with the Instant Fusion in case you draw both, but realistically, if you draw both, you know, you're not going to activate them anyway because you've only got 1 target in the extra. 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, 3 copies of Torrential Tribute, 3 Gozen Match. This is fantastic in this deck because you change all of your opponent's monsters to water. They cannot play their normal turn if you flip up Gozen. It's kind of how Rivalry of Warlords works with Zombie World. And 3 Solemn Strike. I just love playing Torrential Solemn in this format. In the extra, we've got 1 rare fish. I would maybe try and find room for a second, but I don't think there is. The extra deck is exceptionally tight. We've got a Zeus, we've got 2 Bahamut Shark, Crooked Cook, Stealth Kragen, 2 Spawn, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Rhapsody in Berserk. This one I picked up from Jogar. It's really, really good against DPE specifically, because if they activate a DPE effect in Graveyard because you forced it out early, you can then make a Rhapsody in Berserk and banish both the Dasher and the DPE, so they're forced to get back the Celestial. It's a great way to ensure they pretty much never have that effect online. And next, of course, we've got Totally Awesome, Utopic Future Dragon, Utopic Future, and Salamangreat Almirage. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Pendulum, and this is maybe not the best representation of this deck. I feel as if 52 cards is probably not optimal, but this game is a great representation of what happens if your opponent mismanages the loop. We're going to begin with a copy of Ready Fusion and then summon a Silent Angler from hand. Not ideal. We really want 1 more monster and that Instant Fusion to be something other than a fusion card with 1 rare fish in the extra deck. Our opponent's going to begin with a Regeki that allows us to use Kragen to float into 2 copies of Stealth Kragen Spawn and then attach material. They're going to set scales after activating Duelist Alliance and Pendulum Call. That's quite frightening for me, but probably not the end of the world. They're going to Pendulum summon 2 here, the Black Fang and the Harmonizing. They'll trigger the Harmonizing, will Infinite Impermanence here, which requires them to commit their entire board to something like a Halqifibrax, which is a water. So instead, they go for a copy of Supreme King Dragon Clearwing, which Raigekis on activation, allowing us to float back into the Stealth Kragen and activate its effect to pop the Supreme King Dragon Clearwing. From here, we can probably win the game. I am pretty sure this deck cannot beat Zeus, so we're going to go directly into that, eat our opponent's scales, and then from here, we can use the White Mirror we drew off the top of our deck in order to bring back the Silent Angler and add 1 to hand. We'll special the Silent Angler and go into a Bahamut Shark, and guess what? With 2 cards, we have 1 negate. We'll pass back to our opponent, who draws a second scale, but a little too late. They'll go for the Supreme King Dragon Odd Eyes, and then go to the battle phase to trade for our Totally Awesome, or at least the Zeus, I suppose. We'll draw for turn, and this should be lethal. We'll go ahead and activate the effect of Bahamut Shark, and then style just a little bit. We're going to normal summon this Buzzsaw Shark, activate the effect to summon the copy of Right Hand Shark from deck, and make an Abyss Dweller for well over lethal. Our second match is up against Evil Twin. Evil Twin. Has there ever been a deck in modern memory that's bottomed out harder than this one? I guess Big Lesbian Turbo isn't all it was cracked up to be. The only conclusion I can draw from that is that Konami is homophobic. We're going second this time. Our opponent is going to begin with the card that finds the starter. Oh boy. They're going to go for the Leela, summoning the Kiss-a-Kill from deck, and then they will go ahead and make a Kiss-a-Kill, summoning back the Leela, then they'll make a Leela, summoning back a Kiss-a-Kill, then they'll trigger the effect of the Kiss-a-Kill to draw a card and put me to sleep. Trouble Sunny, set 1, a couple of hand traps, pass. That's about as good as it gets for this deck. We're going to begin with a copy of Ready Fusion. Unfortunately, we have to lead with that because Buzzsaw locks us. Afterwards, we'll go for the Sea Nettle. They will activate the effect of Trouble Sunny to bring back the Leela and the Kiss-a-Kill. This will pop a card on our side of the field and draw them a card. They're going to elect to pop the Rare Fish. No problem here. Very happy they didn't pop the Buzzsaw Shark. We will go for the Buzzsaw Shark here, and this is why they didn't pop it. They've got the Ash Blossom in hand. Okay, well, we can still make Kragen. We're going to activate the effect of Kragen. That's going to send pink to the graveyard. They'll use blue to bring back pink, which draws them a card the first time only. So we are able to not only get over the pink, but also prevent them from bringing it back with their hard once per turn effect. We're going to go for the Solemn Strike on the graveyard effect of Trouble Sunny, which sends, not destroys. Very important. They'll go for the effect of Kiss-a-Kill. We'll activate the effect of Kragen. They'll activate the effect of Forbidden Droplet, and we will chain Torrential. So at Resolution, we'll be able to activate the graveyard effect of Stealth Kragen and get 2 Kragen spawns. Our opponent has the starter once again. They're They're going to go from Leela into Kiss a Kill, and then from there they're going to go into a Kiss a Kill, bringing back a Leela. From here they can make the entire play again and pop one of our cards, but unfortunately they don't really comprehend the loop, and they give us back the Kragen, turning all of their monsters water and allowing us to pop both of them in a chained sequence that doesn't target. We'll draw for turn, and it's a Sea Nettle. Oh my god. We'll go for the Beatuniful Princess, getting a Buzzsaw Shark from deck. We'll fire the Buzzsaw Shark. They will fire the Effect Veiler, but any extender does it, and unfortunately for our opponent, we do have one. We're going to summon the Sea Nettle and overlay for a Bahamut Shark, then activate Bahamut Shark to go into a copy of Toad. We'll go to the battle phase. This isn't exactly lethal. There was probably a line to get there, but I definitely did not put much thought into it. We'll activate Sea Nettle to put the spawn back in case they destroy our Kragen, so we still have a way to trigger it. They're going to normal summon a copy of Kiss a Kill, trigger the effect, but we have the Toad. We will negate and destroy, and they will concede. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Sword Soul, and oh boy, we have lost the die roll and they have full combo, so best of luck to us. They're going to begin with a copy of Moye, revealing a Taya in hand. They're going to summon a token and go into a Chi-Xiao. They'll trigger the effect of the Chi-Xiao and the effect of the Moye, drawing a card off the top of their deck, and what should they draw? But Longwan! Sick! I hate looking at the replays and seeing that they are ripping the playmakers off the top instead of having them in hand already. So we've got Blackout, we've got Infip, we've got 2 hand traps, and we've got Bear and Chi-Xiao. That's pretty much as good as it gets. We'll go for a Princess here. They are going to Ash Blossom. Okay, we can activate Right-Hand Shark and Graveyard. We pitch for the 1/1, and then summon a Silent Angler to go into Kragen. We'll activate Kragen. They'll Veiler it. Shoot. Okay, we might as well set 2 and pass back to our opponents. They're going to draw for turn. It's an Ecclesia. They're going to go for the Baron. We'll activate Kragen in response. They'll activate Chi-Xiao in response. No big deal. We can trigger the effect of the Kragen in Graveyard. That'll fiend the Baroness negate, and now they are out of interaction. They'll normal summon the Ecclesia and activate the effect to go into a Taya, at which point we will flip a Torrential Tribute, and suddenly this one is looking pretty winnable. Oh my god, this one is looking really winnable. Okay, we're going to go for the Right-Hand Shark in Graveyard. Normal summon the Beatuniful Princess. Activate the effect to get a Buzzsaw Shark. We'll trigger the effect of the Buzzsaw Shark. They will infip, but ooh, wrong choice here. From here, we can overlay for a copy of Bahamut Shark and go into Toad. And one point at which Sword Soul really struggles is when they are playing off the top of their deck. We get it totally awesome. We go into a Zeus as well because we're not waterlocked, and we'll pass back. They draw the Reborn spell, which is a really great top deck, but we will take it with Toad. Afterwards, they will pass back to us. We'll use Toad to get this Angler back, and we're really just looking for an extender here. Unfortunately, we don't find it, but Infip does potentially trade for another card off the top of their deck. We'll set 1 and pass back to our opponent. They draw for turn. It's a copy of Taya. They're going to normal summon the Taya, activate the effect, we'll Infip in response, and then at end phase we'll activate the effect of Zeus to try and get in for lethal. They will chain the effect of Blackout. That's going to remove our Zeus from the field and force us to draw something. We draw for turn, and oh, thank god, it's Pot of Desires. We'll go for Right-Hand Shark, special summon the Silent Angler, and any extender does it, and what do you know, we do find one. We'll go for the Silent Angler, and our opponent will concede. So it's time for game 2, and oh, I hate the sideboard. Okay, Dimensional Barrier bodes very poorly for us. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Moye. They're going to summon a token and then make Chi-Xiao. I hate these opens because it means if you've drawn Droll and Lockbird, you're activating it after your opponent has already drawn 2 cards. We're going to go for it anyways. I mean, it's something. They're going to set 2 and pass. We maybe can do this. We're going to begin with a copy of Beatuniful Princess after firing off a Pot of Desires and finding 15 ways to get to it and nothing else. We'll go for the Buzzsaw Shark. We'll activate the effect. That's going to get negated. No big deal because we do have the Instant Fusion in hand. We'll fire that off and then get ourselves a copy of Rare Fish, which allows us to overlay for Stealth Kragen. We'll activate the effect and are met with Dim Barrier, and that is really bad for a number of reasons. Not only does it mean we can't activate the effect of the Stealth Kragen, it also means that we can't activate the Graveyard effect when it's blackouted at the end of the turn. Another Dimensional Barrier off the top. How do you get this skilled? Our opponent's going to go for a Taya here. We maybe should have struck the Taya. I elect to strike the Chi-Xiao instead, but I guess if that set card was a blackout, that would be a pretty bad punish. We're going to normal summon a copy of Beatuniful Princess. We'll activate the effect again to go into Buzzsaw Shark. We'll activate Buzzsaw Shark in order to get ourselves a second copy of a fish from our deck before overlaying for a Bahamut Shark and running directly into the second Dim Barrier. Someday I'm going to resolve an Xyz effect. We'll go to the battle phase, walk over the token, and pass back to our opponent. For turn they draw. I'm done, man. I don't know how anyone plays this game. Okay, well, we are going to go for the Bahamut Shark here. It's going to be Gammoned this time. We'll go for the Pot of Desires. We draw off the top. Ooh, and find 2 Forbidden Droplet. Not ideal. Finally, our opponent has found a target. Some worm they can pitch for Longwan. They're going to, ooh, Synchro Summon Chang Ying. That's terrible news. Chang Ying is going to get in. We have to drop here to not die, but drop works really poorly with Chang Ying, keeping it at 2,000. White Mirror is a fantastic rip. We're going to use it to bring back this Silent Angler. Then we'll trigger the effect to get another one. We'll special summon a Sea Nettle, and at this point, we can overlay for a Stealth Kragen spawn. We'll activate the effect. It's a water monster. We'll chain droplets so we can actually destroy it, and there's the 3rd dimension barrier. All right, let's just go to the next game. So it's time for that all-important game 3, and very little is as frustrating to losing to Dimensional Barrier flipped 3 consecutive turns in a row but some things rival it. We're going first, and our hand is only okay. We have ready and instant fusion, but we do have a way to Kraken and set a couple of cards, which is decent, if nothing else. We'll go for the Kragen, set 2, and pass back to our opponent. They're going to begin with a copy of Ecclesia, and I elect not to call by the Ecclesia. My theory is it doesn't actually matter which one of these they go for, because we're always going to use Kragen to destroy the monster, locking them out of anything but synchro summoning. It turns out they had the other Moye in hand, so that was right. They're going to go for a Pierce, then followed up with a Long Wand. We will Torrential at this point. I'm feeling great because our Stealth Kragen spawns can destroy water monsters, including the tokens left behind, until I see the Protoss. They are going to waterlock us, draw 2, and pass. Well, not a lot we can do about that. We'll pass back to our opponent. They're going to activate Wild Appears and then go for Long Wand, pitching the Taya they drew. They're going to go into a copy of Chang Ying, trigger the Long Wand. We have to Called by here to not die, and then we'll take a quadrillion damage, and they'll waterlock us again by protecting Chang Ying. Oh boy. Oh, what an enjoyable match. So we're back with the deck, and aha! The power of Floodgates has seen me through. Does that translate into a playable strategy, however? It's unclear. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, it's got some auto-win cards. It seems like a prerequisite of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now is you need a couple of cards in your deck that straight up win you the game on turn 1, and this deck has them. 2, its turn 1 uninterrupted plays are legitimately frightening. As Lyrilusk has shown, decks aren't always able to beat UFD plus negation, and that is trivial for this deck. And 3, every time the water attribute change matters, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And the cons. 1, deck's got a low ceiling. There's only so much you can do with Xyz monsters, and people are already prepared with rulers for most stuff. 2, it is shockingly bricky. I mean, it doesn't help that I'm playing an extremely low extender count, but often I would be without the ability to make a single rank 4. And 3, people are playing Dimensional Barrier. You can't beat that card. All in all, it'll definitely be a force when the new support comes out, but for now, be careful about jumping the shark. As always, thanks to my patrons, Chaotic Meatball, Hakuo, AJBYGO, Alex Perea, Author Tsukiyomi, BB Poison, Blackacre, Blue Fanfiction Inc., Busta Waff, GB Gohan, Chipotle Rice, Colin Miller, Crispy, Dan the Man Hoban, Dominic Ernst, Dubs Rewatcher, Frosty, Going Down Swinging, Grant Curry, Hentai Connoisseur, Ikaliba Brote, Indiana Petra, Josh Anderson, King Magic Ruler, Night Mary, Major Rusty, Materiality, Mike Carlotti, Not Witty, Redux, Rocky Hernandez, Rose Lapine, Sarah Rutledge, Seeker, Sirtachion, Space Condor, Tyler Gaines, Wave Motion Ganon, Your Toes Can't Escape, Adam Gravino, Adrian Bra, Adventure Spence, Aerosol TCG, Afro Ninja 123, Albrecht Edmondson, Alex Dominguez, Alfred Hendricks, Amaranta V, Anarcho Cameronism, Andrew Benson, Andrew Ferruia, Artemis, Avocado Soup, Fallen Stalin, Benjamin Cole Kierman, Billy Williams, Blake Root, Blair, Brendan Peterson, Brendan Vanderhoof, Brendan Wilton, Break of the Outrage, Brian Craig, C-Stacks, Captain Breadbeard, Brins, Chad Bortz, Caius, Chase Smith, Chorps Away, Christopher Nikado, CJ Alex, Cleveland, Cloud Mushroom, Cole Schulian, Colin Gustafson, Control for the Win, Crazy Wizza, Daffy Deathclock, Dan Schwer, Daniel Baldwin, Danny Guadalupe, Darcy Tevz, Darla Keys, Dave Lucy, David Hernandez, Dive Missile, Dogma, Donut 235, Dr. Batman, Dr. Kilometer, Dying Eyes, Distrin, Emily V, Emperor Stove, Ernesto Ibarra, Ethan Brown, Farah, Fisker Whiskers, FUTR, Galactic Frozer, Gavin K, Griever, Hank Cheesecake, Harold Ikaza, Haroof, How to Lose, Josemina, Hunter Smith, Hunter ZC, Hugh Mayer, I Have Nothing But Contempt for This Court, Incredibly Slow, Isaac Jackson, J Chip Show, Jalen Ya, Jason Leonard, Jay Gordon, Jeff Leonard, Jell, Jesse Cox, Jita Yoon, Jonathan Wallace, Jordan Gutman, Jose Luis Cortez, Julia Chulian, Callie, Kendall Fear, Kiffin Arshaway, Corey Hess, Lake Bayer, Lawrence, Light Knight, Lucas Engels, Lucas Geardas, Lucas BRB, Lucy loses 8,000 life points, Lucas Arizo Hansen, Magnus 7A, Jesticat 93, Major Duncan, Marcello, Matthew Taylor, MBT's toes will not suck themselves. Merp, Mezzo Emrys, Michael Marks, Miles Edgelord, Miss Ally Fortune, Mr. Ease, Nick Extreme 99, Nice Toraro, Nico, Niru Soup, Nitro Skull, Nix Dolores, Noted Pop, Noom, 03, Ocean McCool, Olympus, Omase, Austrin, Osmaniac, Partu, Pasho Bon the Otter, Pizer, Picnic Blasted, Pig, Pisty Won't Get Banned, Copium, Precise Bike 13, Pro FP2, Pro Hunter 69, Chrono, Ragna, Raska, Revolver Did Nothing Wrong, Rick Martin, Ross Rumelhart, Roz Yu-Gi-Oh, Rune, Syra, Sam Pinney, Sapphic Ashley, Scrafted, Sean Deal, Sean Flynn, Second, Sendoria, Seraphine, Shareable Carcass, Shy, Spencer Kennedy, SSJ Imagine Slayer, Standards Objective, Steve McMullen, Swinkles, Tate Rosencutter, The Carl Moxley, The RJB Zero, The Saucy Pickle, Thought Auditor, Time Lord Omega, Violet Prison, Watson, Why Am I Here, Will Elliott, Wonder Hess, Yodelehi Who, You're Doing Great Joseph, Yuri's Best, Yuki A, and D's Nuts. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the process, consider following me on Twitch as well. See you next time.